And I asked you this off air. I'm going to ask it again. 5-0 at Old Trafford earlier this season. I covered that game. 4-0 today, a 9-0 aggregate scoreline. Has anything actually improved under the interim manager, Ralph Rangnick? This is the most expensive squad in the Premier League, and there are players there that have had success elsewhere, yet they can't seem to gel together on the pitch.
I think I'll take the last bit. I'm not so, I can't really defend the fact that we concede 9 goals and haven't been able to score. We barely had a shot on target even tonight. So it's been a depressing time for us as Man United supporters and ex-players. It's hard to comprehend what has actually gone wrong. I think the blame has to come from within. It's not just one. It's a series of things. And, I've been in dressing room long enough. I've had one kind of relegation threat when I was playing in my playing career, and that was horrible. But after that, I was never allowed to let that sort of creep in again. So I've been very lucky to be in good dressing room. And you need a good dressing room. Managers could come in with a high profile like Ralph. He's come in with a good reputation. You hear people speak about him. He's a professor, all the words that has been used. But he's come in with the team being in a healthy, when I say healthy, maybe not playing great, obviously, but they were still in 3rd or 4th place when he came in. We were still in all the cup competition. And you think, this is a guy never been in the league, but yet got a lot of experience. And often you hear people say these things. And there's a reason why the Premier League is the toughest league. You got to know this league. You got to understand what it takes to win. And especially when you come at United, you can have as much experience. We've seen previous manager come in there. And, likes of Mourinho and Van Gaal, and yes, they have won things, but they struggle. So, for me, the clear understanding in all of this, and I have aspiration to be a manager, you got to get the dressing room together. Don't matter the experience you have. If you don't get that dressing room, connected, togetherness, whatever you need, that camaraderie as we talk, and that kind of banter and that feeling of brotherhood within that dressing room. Don't care how good of an experience you are, you got no chance. And this is a dressing room divided for whatever reason. And at the top, whether they're buying to this new word in football, philosophy, as we use, where the players are buying into that, we're clearly not seeing that at United, and it shows. And it shows really bad, in a bad way, particularly over these two games against Liverpool. And the result speaks for itself.
Dan?
I agree completely. Everyone's talking about new manager coming into the club and who's it going to be. You can bring Klopp in, you could bring Guardiola. It doesn't change anything. It's far deeper than that. It's far greater than that. I think they've been left behind by Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea. You only have to look at the fact they got their first director of football they've ever had last year. The 3 teams I just mentioned have had them for the last 10 years. I know you talk about the most expensively assembled squad. That's fine, but you're assembling a squad with no identity in mind, no idea about how you're going to play. You look at Jurgen Klopp, he signs players because they fit the identity of the team. You look at Pep Guardiola, he signs players because they fit the identity of the club. I think that you go back to when Dwight was at the club, you go back to the success they had afterwards. I still think there's an arrogance at the football club that thinks they're still like Manchester United, and they're not. Things have changed. If Sir Alex Ferguson was manager now, he couldn't do it all on his own. He would need these important components behind him. The club hasn't got that. The club needs to get that quickly. And until you do that, you can go and sign the best players, you can go and have the best manager. You will not have any success, because if you're good off the pitch, then you'll be good on the pitch. But at the moment, the way things are done behind the scenes doesn't seem to be as in terms of what other football clubs are doing. And, as I've said before, it's Liverpool Football Club, Manchester City Football Club, and it's Manchester United Business Club. That's the difference. Football seems to be the second priority behind financially making money and things like that. And if you look back through the recent history, Manchester United only really spend big money when they finish outside the top 4. They've done it a couple of times in the top 4. They did it this summer, but I think that was a lot to do with things that had gone on during the season. But other than that, it seems to be a club that's happy to finish in the top four. And until they get rid of that tag, then nothing will ever change. Don't matter who your manager is or what players you bring in.
So I just want to also pick up what Dwight was saying there. The camaraderie in the dressing room, the banter, the chemistry, the unity. Where does it actually start from? Is it from the manager? Is it from the captain? Is it from certain individuals in the dressing room? How does it all come together, and why can't Manchester United seem to achieve this?
Well, I think the manager has a big input, and obviously, like the lads saying, the players they sign. Obviously the characters, you look into that. Not only are they good football players, what type of characters are you signing? I think your dressing room plays a big part. Like you said, leaders. And Man United, I watch them and don't look like they've got any leaders at all on the field. They're just sort of players individuals. And where you watch Liverpool, they're so organised. You can see Van Dijk, you can see Henderson, the vocal people. So I can imagine them type of players are probably running that dressing room, keeping it all together. Where, like you say, you look at Man United, there's all stories coming out of different players not liking each other and different, who should be captain, who should not be captain. You never hear that from Liverpool. It's so tightly run. And I think that the big thing is from the manager. But if I look at Man United, they should look at what Liverpool did a couple of years ago. They get Jurgen Klopp in, they give him time, they let him build a team. Took him 3 or 4 years to get where he wanted to be, but with that time he got a squad that he wanted, and look what they are now. They're competing, and like you say, Man United might have better individual players across the park, but I think Liverpool played better as a team, and it shows.
Yeah. Final one on this before we look at the goals, Dwight. I'm also wondering, I still question the appointment of Ralph Rangnick, I have to be honest, because, like you said, he is well respected in the game, but he's also been out of management for quite a while. He's taken an upstairs position. That was his latest job. He was in Russia, wasn't he? Lokomotiv. Not directly involved in management, and I'm sure as a manager you want to be involved in the game. You want to be there in the heart day to day. I think he's only managed about 2 or 3 seasons in the last decade or so. It's strange. And now you're wondering how much credibility, how much authority will he have in his unconfirmed consultancy position once he steps out of the position as manager, interim manager. It just sounds so confusing still, Dwight.
Oh, well, listen, it's easy to point finger at Ralph Rangnick now because
no, Dwight, I'm not pointing a finger at him. I'm pointing a finger at the high ups at Manchester United for putting him there in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's a collective. I said it before. I think it's a collective thing. We had to bring in somebody after Oli, who was in terms of taking the interim. It's always going to be an interim. They seek him out. They felt he could have done the job based on the experience that he has managed. He's had the knowledge in football. You listen to Klopp, you listen to everybody else. Tuchel, when he was appointed the interim manager, there was wonderful word coming out, and everyone was excited because he had some experience in management. Of course, he probably might not have been in that position for quite some time. So, yeah, listen, the situation is much more deeper than we are suggesting. As I said, it wasn't just this particular season. It's been brewing for some time now. We are buying players excessively. It's got nothing to do with money. I hear people keep mentioning the Glazers, but the Glazers have always put forward the money to bring in players. I think we are buying bang average players these days, well over the odds, because we are not in a position to demand. When under previous manager, when you're in a strong position, players don't really have the power to dictate to Man United in terms of, what they want and before they come to this football club. That was never the case. That is all turned on the head. Now, players are coming for this obscene amount of money, way over the value, because the club is simply not in a strong position to negotiate those prices. They got to take what they can get, because all the good players don't want to come to United. It used to be a given in the past. Sir Alex Ferguson come calling. You're not even thinking twice. You come into, Man United sell itself. Now, that is not the case. We have a lot of rebuilding, and we keep reverting back to all of these things. As I said, doesn't matter who comes in. If you don't get that dressing room and build that culture back. And I think Danny was right. Since when we ever play for Fort? What's that? That somehow that doesn't register to me, even to this day, when people say, "Oh, we're playing for Fort." What is that? It was never the case. And until we get out of that mindset, then we are stuck in that bubble, and It's going to be a hard road back, I'm afraid, based on what we saw. Because I still believe when you look at the players, there's no way, you know, City and Liverpool should be that far ahead. Yes, maybe ahead, but not that far. And that's, for me, is more worrying than anything else.
Dan, I can sense you wanna chip in here, so I'm just going to throw in a couple of things I've seen this week. Ralph Rangnick talking about how many transfer windows are needed for Manchester United to get back at least on semi-equal footing with Liverpool and Manchester City, and he said it's not rocket science as well. But wow, Manchester United are making it look far more advanced than rocket science. You need a PhD, 5 PhDs it seems, to sort out the mess.
Yeah, you do, but the problem is, it's like, if you're Ralph Rangnick and you're saying, okay, you need 3 or 4 windows to catch up with Manchester City and Liverpool. Manchester City and Liverpool not going to sign any players in the next 3-4 windows. The problem is, and Dwight's just hit the nail on the head, if you've got a choice between going between Liverpool, Manchester City and Manchester United, unfortunately at the moment, your third choice is going to be Manchester United. So United are no longer fishing in this pond for the top players. Because the top players, like Haaland's obviously been mentioned going to Manchester City. Mbappe, I know it looks like he's going to Spain, but he was even mentioned about Liverpool. There's no way those players are going to come to Manchester United. So I understand where Ralph Rangnick's saying that, you know, okay, it could be 3-4 windows until we're catching up. That's only if Manchester City and Liverpool decide they're not going to spend a penny in the next 3-4 transfer windows. For me, this is something, I think you're 8, 9, 10 years behind Liverpool and Manchester City. You go back to Liverpool in the 70s and the 80s when they were winning absolutely everything. They had 30 years of nothing. And that team was as good as Manchester United's team and as successful as Manchester United's team was before they've had this drought. So, you know, it's not a short-term fix. But unfortunately, United keep doing the short-term fixes. Going and spending money on players that you can't necessarily build a team around. Going and signing players that are coming towards the end of their career, instead of having an identity and a purpose of bringing a player in that fits and matches the way that United play. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, when Dwight was there, even after Dwight had gone and they had success afterwards, the blueprint was still the same. It never changed. And Manchester United, I don't know what they are. I don't know what their identity is. And there's been so much mismanagement over the years that to unravel that and to change that, it's probably going to take between 8 and 10 years at least.
But that haven't attempts been made to try to address that issue? I mean, okay, hindsight is always 20/20, but there was a stage in time where it was incredibly exciting to see young defensive players like Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. I think they came in the same window for an extraordinary amount of cash. Jadon Sancho, he's still young, let's not forget, coming not too long ago. And then blooding your youngsters, Alanga, who started the match today. I mean, attempts have been made to try to get younger players in, surely.
Yeah, but what you're finding is during this period, you're talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when he was in charge. The problem is when the manager goes, instead of doing what other clubs do, which is go and get a manager then that suits the players that they've already got at the club, they don't do that. David Moyes came in, then Van Gaal came in, completely different method of football than David Moyes. Mourinho comes in, completely different style than Van Gaal. And then Solskjaer comes in, a completely different style than Mourinho. So in order for you to get consistency, okay, if a manager's not successful, he's brought players in. You've got to bring a manager that can get the best out of those players. You've got players still at the club from Sir Alex Ferguson. So you've now got a group of players that were brought in to play all different styles, and now it's just a mishmash. So you're not going to have success until you get continuity. Simple as that. And that doesn't matter what club you are. Doesn't matter what club you are. That's what Liverpool have done. That's what Manchester City have done. Pep Guardiola went into Manchester City and said, you want me at this club, you've got to allow me to do what I want to do. Jurgen Klopp went to Liverpool and said, you want me at this club, you've got to allow me to do what I want to do. If I'm any manager going to Manchester United at the moment, the club isn't interviewing me. I'm interviewing the club to see what they're going to allow me to do. That's the biggest thing.
Slight outsider's perspective from you, Stuart Downing. The acquisitions they've made over the last couple of years. I've talked about the fee of the squad. It's outrageous.
Yeah, even when you look at the managers, I mean, they went out and spent big on players. So why can't they do that to get a manager they want? You know, Pochettino's been touted for a long time, I think, before that. So why couldn't they, you know, just go and get him and spend big money on the manager they wanted instead of just getting players like I say, who don't suit the way they play. Like Danny and Dwight said there, they've got an influx of players playing from all different styles, all different management, all into one now. And you can see Ralph's obviously playing a way that he doesn't want to play. When he came in, I think he wanted this 4-2-2, somewhat pressing. And obviously he can't do that with the players that they've got in. Ronaldo's come in. Yes, he's got plenty of goals and he'll always score goals, but he's not going to run around and press from the front like the Liverpool lads are. So that's different. Whereas Klopp, like he said, he's took time. He's bought the players he wants. You look at the players he's bought in now, Diaz and Jota, to good ages. So when he does leave Liverpool, eventually that'll be passed on to someone else, a team ready to go again. But you look at United and they sort of look like they're just buying for now. Like Danny said, they're trying to just win now, but that's going to take years and years to do. And like you said, the teams are still going to strengthen. Man City are still going to buy. Liverpool will strengthen again. And like I said, I'm sure if Klopp stays, if Salah signs, they're going to attract more players again. So that's a big rebuilding job. And I think the manager, if it is Ten Hag who goes in, he needs assurances that he can buy the players he wants and build the club, and not just be given 6 months to a year and then all of a sudden it's not working, to sack him and then move on to someone else. That model is not going to work. Yeah,
of course you have to factor in the expectations of the fans of Manchester United and the club itself. It's interesting you brought up Pochettino's name, because when Ralph Rangnick was appointed, they said it was an interim position and they would be doing a thorough screening process for the next manager. The two names linked at the time were Pochettino and Erik ten Hag. Here we are, April heading into May, and again it's just Ten Hag, and before that Pochettino. Nothing much has really changed. So again, more questionable decisions.